All right. So the paper that we're doing, unfortunately, even if I block it out now, I won't be able to block it out because it's written on all the pages. It's June 2017. Obviously, try not to Google the answers on YouTube or whatever, right? So let's go. How the multiple choice paper is laid out, we won't be able to do the questions in order. It's what I could show on the screen at a particular time. So right now on the screen, we will be doing questions 1, 2, 6, and 7. So work it out and send your answers on the chat. Now, please, once again, when you're sending the answers, if it's question 1, write 1. And you don't have to send it one at a time. You can work out all 4 first and then write down all 4 answers and then send it on the chat so you don't get too distracted. Good luck, and I await your answers. Right. Now, I did see some wrong answers for number 1, right? Now, we have to keep in mind that whenever you square anything in the world, well, for CXC purposes, you always get a positive value. If you square a negative, you get a positive. Even if your calculator shows you a negative, now that just means you type it in wrong, okay? Minus 3 squared is positive 9. I'm really sure about that. And minus 2 squared is positive 4. So it's just 9 plus 4, which is 13. Right? So like I said, 1 or 2 people did get it wrong, but that is okay. Now that you know when you square anything in the world, it's supposed to be a positive value. What number, when added to, oh God, to 1 and 1/3 gives you 2? This is a primary school question, right? If you have 1 and 1/3 cake and you need 2 cakes in total, obviously what? 2/3 is missing. So for those who never really did a CXC multiple choice paper, I think you're pretty happy with what you're seeing so far, right? If 30% of a number is 45, what is 4/5 of the number? All right, so there are a few ways you can do this, right? Okay, to me, we could probably use the cross method. When I say the cross method, this method here. I know we low on space, right? 4/5 as a percentage is how much? Anybody know? They said 30% of a number is 45. They want to know how much is 4/5 of the same number. 4/5 is the same thing as how much percent? 80%, right? How did I get that? 4/5 multiplied by 100. Number percentages are always out of 100. So if you find 4/5 of something, or as a percentage, you will get 80%. Now, there are more than one ways to do this question, but I'll just show you any way I would prefer. We're comparing 2 things, a percentage to a value. The examiner is the one who said that 30% represents a value of 45. The examiner, he's the one who said that. And now he's asking about a different percentage. He's asking about 80%. Right? 80% would be representing what value? We don't know, so we call it X. All we have to do is cross multiply and solve for X. 30 by X is 30X, and 45 by 80, but I need my calculator for that, right? Now, in the CXC exam, you're not going to be allowed to use your calculator, right? But we're just using our calculator today to speed up the process. So 45 by 80 is 3,600. The 30 is a multiply, throw it across, you get a divide. The answer is 120. To me, this is the easiest way of doing that particular question. The cross, I told you all the crosses are a powerful tool in maths. Now, 7 is a primary school question, right? We know here is tenths, here's tenths, and here's hundredths, right? 1/100, 1/10, 1/100. So if it's a 2, it's 2/100. How much people got all 4 correct without my help? Right? The class is being recorded. You don't have to worry. You do not have to write down the questions. You can always go back to the recording after. Let's go down. All right. So one of these questions is the questions that we're going to take a vote on, right? Eventually. But you are going to work out number 3, 4, 8, and 9. I will work out number 3 last because it's on the list of slightly hard questions. Good luck once again. All right. So let's start with number 9, right? I kind of working backwards. I want to do number 3 last, okay? The next term in the sequence. So we start off with, let me write it here a little bit bigger. 1, 6, 13, 22, 20. No, sorry, that's 33. Right. So let's see the pattern here. To go from 1 to 6, we add 5. Because if you have 1 and you want to reach the 6, you add what? 5. To go from 6 to 13, we're looking for a pattern, by the way, right? To go from 6 to 13, you add what? 7. If you add 13 and you want to reach 22, how much you have to add? I think we have to add this one. Double check it. 13 plus this one. We're going to add 9. So to go from 22 to 23, we add how much? 11. You all notice that the number that you add in next always going up by 2. Look at 5, 7, 9, 11. Each of those values are bigger than the previous by 2. So to get the next value, we have to add how much? How much is 2 more than 11? 13. We have to add 13. So 33 plus 13, that's all. 33 plus 13 is 46. So the answer would be C. Right? Right. Just looking at the answers there. Right. Now, the highest common factor, and once again, a primary school question. A factor is a number that can go into another value without leaving a remainder. What's the highest factor of 12, 15, and 60? What number could go into all of those? But we're looking for the largest one, right? It's obviously going to be 3, right? 3 is the highest common factor. 3 could go into 12, 3 could go into 15, 3 could go into 60, right? That one was pretty easy, right? Number 4, I know you all just use a calculator, 235, right? 235 multiplied by 0.48. I don't want to waste too much time on this, right? The answer for this one is 8, right? And you can kind of guess it, because look at this. N23.5, you didn't even need this piece of information to get it correct. Isn't 23.5 close to 24? And 0.487, isn't that close to 0.5 or half? How much is half of 24? 12. So the answer you have to choose has to be close to 12. There's only one value there that's super, super close to 12. The rest of them are severely greater than 12, right? So that's another way you could have gotten it out. So let's take the vote for question 3, right? Some people said they had no problems with it. I don't believe them. All right. So here, let's launch the vote for number 3. Okay, guys, vote. What do you think the answer for number 3 was supposed to be? And we'll see how close the class was, how much of the class was, on the right track to getting it correct. All right, so ending the poll. Great. Share the results. So apparently the majority of the class think D is the answer, 43%. And there's a lot of people who think C is the answer. Let's see if you guys if the class is mostly correct. Right. Let's work this out here. Just clearing your right? I just want to clear up something. 3 is not the LCM. Somebody is telling me 3 is the LCM. No, I'm pretty sure I didn't make a mistake there. That's HCF, highest common factor. LCM will be at least larger, but in most cases, larger than all 3 values, right? So I think you're mixing up HCF with LCM, right? Right. The LCM would add, in case I'm just asking, the LCM would be D. If they were asking, the LCM would be D. All right, so let's move on. All right, so the way I chose to do question 3 was to use the cross again. It seems like that cross is super, super useful. I'm just clearing up some space here, right? Need all the space I can get. So it's 2 people we're dealing with here. What are the 2 people? Anne and who? Betty. Right. Now, the ratio is this. 2 to 3. Anne's portion is 2 and Betty is 3. They said that in the question. They said Anne received $60 less than Betty. Now, they never, ever, ever, ever said they never said in the question how much Betty got, right? But when you don't know something in maths, you put X, right? So we put in X for Betty. That's how much money Betty got. All we know is Anne got $60 less than Betty. So tell me if this makes sense. If Betty is getting X minus 60, does that represent Anne's money? That represents Anne's money, right? Right? She getting $60 less than Betty. When you minus $60 from something, I know that is $60 less. So all we have to do now is cross multiply and solve for X. So let's do that. We're going to multiply this diagonal first. 3, we multiplying the whole X minus 60. So I'll put it in brackets by 3. Is equal to how much? 2 multiplied by X, which is 2X. Let's multiply out the brackets and solve for X. 3 by X is 3X. 3 by 60 is 180. And this is equal to 2X. Throw all the X's on one side, everyone else on the other side. So you're going to end up with 3X minus 2X, which is good news because 3X minus 2X is X, is equal to positive 180. Therefore, X is equal to 180. But the question didn't ask for the value of X. They asked for the total amount of money in all. So that means Betty, number X is 180. So that means Betty got $180. And Anne got $60 less than Betty. 180 minus 60 is 120, right? How much money was there in the first place? 120 plus 180. Add Anne's share and Betty's share. And you're going to get what? D, right? So the majority of the class was correct. I think a lot of people thought the answer was C, right? Because they thought the question was asking for Betty's share only. But that wasn't the question. They wanted the total money. Great. So at least the majority of the class was in the correct direction. Right? If anybody wants to take down the working, you can. I'll give you a few seconds. Right, so we can get 5 and 10 to fit, right? So there's 2 questions for the time being, 5 and 10. Let's not take too long on this one. These two are pretty easy. Number 5, you're just trying to find a percentage of something here. So you're trying to find 60% of 80. 60 over 100 multiplied by 80, because this is the amount of marks. You're trying to find 60% of that amount of marks. 0 will cancel out with this 0. 1 of this 0 will cancel out. Oh, this is really easy. The answer is 48, right? 6 by 8 is 48. The answer would be B. Number 10, if we factorize, like, okay, let me show you. When it have the numbers like this, is a bit confusing. But if I have 5A minus 5B, what can I factorize out there? What can I factorize out? I could factorize out the 5, right? So the 5 is here. So I pull out 5 from both of them. I'm left with A minus B. You notice the 5 is being multiplied by the A and the 5 is being multiplied by the B. But because they are the same, I could pull them out. Now, you notice when you write 5A, nobody writes the multiply sign in between. The multiply sign is understood. But in number 10, they decided to write the multiply. This 49 is being multiplied by the 7, and this 49 is being multiplied by 3, right? But instead of a minus sign, they have an addition sign. So couldn't you factorize out 49? If you factorize out 49, you're pulling out 49 from both of them. So you're left with 17 plus 3. So you end up with 49, 20, because 17 plus 3 is 20. And what is there in between here and here? There's a secret multiply. So the answer is D, 49 multiplied by 20. It's just their answer didn't have the brackets, well, which you already don't need for this particular case. So 49 was D. That's already a factorizing question in disguise. All right, let's get ready to move on. Right, that's number 10. If I forget it, guys, remember number 12, we're supposed to vote on it, right? 12 and 16. Let's go. Make this a little bit smaller. All right, let's see how much we can get to fit here. Let me see if we can get, right. So we can get 11. Can we see number 12 properly? Yeah, we can see number 12 properly. So, hey, we got plenty to fit here. 11, 12, 14, and 15. Good luck. All right, so I think number 15 was the easiest out of all. All right, so according to the poll results, most people think the answer is A. And C is the next popular answer. All right, so let's go. Let's see if you guys are correct with A being the answer. If you look, let me zoom in here a little bit. If you look at, let me circle this here. You'll realize nothing inside this green circle is shaded. Nothing, like anything. Let's say that the slanted lines are a virus, a deadly virus. Everybody within the P circle is safe from that virus. The only thing shaded is everything outside that circle. So in other words, who dies? Like if it's a real deadly virus, everyone dies except P. And what's the way to represent that in maths, in Venn diagrams? P with a little dash on it. That's the complement. That means everything outside of P. Everything but P. You call that P complement. everything but P. All right. So I guess the majority of the class was correct, but a large percentage thought the answer was C, C and B. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on. So once again, the answer for number 12 was E. All right. So let's get some other questions on the screen here. Let's see how much I can get to fit. All right. I can get 13, 16, and 17 to fit for sure. Good luck as usual. Any of these on the list? Number 16 is on the list to vote. So for number 13, if you're familiar with Venn diagrams, right? Right, let me just have it here. Right? It have music and art. So they said 17 students study music and 20 study art, but it only have 32 students in total, which kind of raises a problem, I guess, right? Because when you add 17 and 20, you're getting 37 students, right? But it only have 32. So it seems like it have what? An excess of 5 students. It's not really an excess. That 5 is just the common people. Those people are doing both music and art at the same time. So that is why it gives the illusion that it have more people than it's supposed to have, right? So that means to get the amount of people who do music alone. Remember, when they say 17 people do music, they're talking about this entire circle. If you want to find out how much people do music alone, like music and nothing else, if the whole circle is 17 and this portion is 5, then 17 minus 5 is 12. And I'm just saying if they had asked you how many people do art alone, remember 20 people do art, but saying 20 people do art and somebody doing art alone is two completely different things. So if the whole circle is 20 and here's 5, then here's what? 15. 15 plus 5 will give you the 20. Right? But for the time, I know they didn't ask you all of that, but it's just an excuse to revise. So now, 13, the answer would be B. Okay. Number 16, right? Here's how they mean it. For every $100, you are getting taxed 7 cents. No, 70 cents. So the question is, if the land costs $18,000, how many $100 bills does it take to make 18,000? It's just to divide, right? So that means there are 180 $100. And on each of these $180, you are getting taxed 70 cents. So they just want you to take the 180 now and multiply by 0.70. 180 by 0.70 is how much? $126. The answer is B. Right, so I need some space here to work out number 17, but first we are going to vote on it. Right, so let's vote on number 17 here, right? Good luck. Let's see what you guys got for number 17. I don't think there's a mistake in the question, by the way. Results. The answer, the most popular answer is B, 10,000. Now, I know some people are going to say there's an error with this question. But I believe B is correct. The 10,000 is correct. So let's have a look at it. Let's clear some space over here. Right. So here's the thing. Every year, at the end of the year, the value of the car just dropped by 5%. So look at it. In December, at the end of the year, it's worth 9,500. So that means at the beginning of the year, January is the beginning of the year, isn't it supposed to be worth more? Because at the beginning of the year, right, it's worth more. So by the time December comes and a whole year almost finished, it's going to lose 5% of the value. You know what I'm already asking you in this question? What's the original value of the car? Well, what's the value of the car at the beginning of the year? So check it out. In January, do we know the cost of the car? No, we don't know the cost of the car. So we're just going to call it X. At the end of the year, it's going to be worth 5% less. Now, I know I taught you all this. The original price is always considered to be 100%, right? So that means if something loses 5% of its value, how much percentage is it worth now? If the original percentage is 100 and you lose 5% of your value, how much are you worth now? 95%, correct. So that means 95% of the original value. Remember, the original value is X. How you find 95% of something? You divide it by 100 and you multiply by the particular value. So 95% of the original value ended up being 9,500 because they told you that at the end of the year, it was worth 9,500. That is the 95% value. We just need to solve for X. The easiest way to do this is to convert this to a decimal. 95 divided by 100 is 0.95 is equal to 9,500. The 0.95 is a multiply. Throw it across, you get a divide. That means the original value was, if you try this, you can throw it on a calculator, you'll see it's 10,000. The answer is B. The majority of the class was correct. It was a reverse question. I know what some people did. They found 95% of 9,500. They didn't realize, wait, that's the original value they're asking us for. You can also use the cross method and you would have gotten the same exact answer. All right, let me see how much we can get to fit here. All right. Hey, we get quite a lot, and a lot of them is money questions. 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, and 24. Good luck. I'll give you a full 6 minutes. Well, you already need 8 minutes for this. So number 18 is, that's a primary school question. I would consider that. If you have a phone and it costs 800 and then you sell it for 1,000, you make $200 profit. So to convert it to percentage, you take the profit, which is 200, and you divide it by, they said as a, they even tell you as a percentage of the cost price. To be honest, they didn't even need to remind you of that. By default, it's supposed to be the cost price. The cost price is 800, and then you multiply by 100%. So if you do this, you'll get 25%, right? Number 18 is D. Right, so that one is pretty easy. Number 19. A man's annual salary is 45,000 and he has an allowance of 13,000. And well, what is an allowance? An allowance is part of your salary the government cannot touch. They're not allowed to tax that. So that means when he makes his 45,000, the first 13,000 is no, the government cannot touch that. So let's break this up into two pieces, right? The 45,000 can be broken up into two pieces. The 13,000, which the government cannot touch, and 45,000, that's not 45,000 minus 13,000 is 3,200. 32,000, I mean. The government could only tax the 32,000. They cannot tax the $13,000 portion. So how much is the tax? 35%. So they're going to take 35%, that poor man, right? And you'll literally be poor now, right? So they take 35% of his $32,000. I'm getting, when I work this out, I'm getting B. Checking, a lot of people did get it, right? I suspect a lot of people didn't remember what an allowance was, right? I got the 3,200 by minusing it. Remember, he made $45,000. The first 13,000, they cannot tax it. The balance they can tax. All I did was take the 45,000 and minus the 13,000, right? Great. So down to number 20. All right. Number 20, you're using the same let's call it, yeah. Interest is principal by rate by time over 100 formula. The same thing from primary school, Form 1, Form 2. It didn't change, lucky for us. They want us to find R, right? And they give you all the other values. The simple interest on a loan of 6,000, the loan is the principal and the 900 is the interest. So you put the 900 here. The principal is 6,000, right? The rate is what you want to find. The time is 3 years divided by what? 100. We could do this two ways. We could cross multiply and solve for R, but I think it'd have an easier way, right? These two zeros will cancel out with these two zeros on top, right? Leaving you with what? 900 is 660 by 30 is 180 multiplied by R. The 180 is a multiply, throw it across, you get a divide. 900 divided by 180 is 5%. The answer is C. And most people got that one correct. $22. How much does a customer pay for an article marked $50 if the sales tax is 6%? Now, there are two ways you can do this. You can find 6% of the 50 and add it on, right? I think that's the easiest method there, right? So we're going to find 6% of 50, and that's the extra amount you have to pay, right? I think this is, they got a real small value, again, $3. So the total price you have to pay is $53, right? The $50 plus the sales tax of $3. Number 23, super easy, right? 7AB, right? The answer is A. 7 times the product of two values. Now, my product just means the amount. I don't think I have too much explanations here, and I'm going to go too much into that one. But number 24, all you have to do for this one, you notice you have 2x in the middle. I'll write it slightly wrong here. All you had to do was divide everyone throughout by 2. If you divide him by 2, you have to divide the equation throughout by 2. So you get 2 is less than x is less than or equal to 3. The answer would have been E. Right. So give everybody a few seconds. For those who want to take it down, you can, but not more than 30 seconds. Let's move on. Let's see. 21, 25, and 26. Seems like we get a lot of consumer arithmetic questions here. Forgot that all. So higher purchase, you realize a lot of primary school stuff just keeps coming back in CXC, right? So that's stuff to smile about. So if you had the cash on you, if you had the cash on you, you could have paid just what? $350. Okay. However, the higher purchase plan, you could pay less in the beginning, but in the long run, you end up paying more. So what they're saying is that you could put down how much? $35 first, and they will let you take home the TV. But then, for the next 12 months, you have to pay $30. So 12 by 30 is $360. Plus the original 35 you put down in the first place. 360 plus 35 is how much? $395. How much you would I end up saving if, right? We'd have just buy cash price, okay? 350 was the cash price and 390. You'll end up saving $45, right? You'll end up saving $45. That's pretty easy. Let's move on. This one here, the coefficient just means the value touching x. So let's I don't know if you all remember how to multiply this out. What you're going to do is take the second pair of brackets and multiply it by the first value and then repeat with the second value. So you're going to take x and multiply it by x minus 1 and then take the positive 3 and also multiply it by the x minus 1. X by x is x squared. X by minus 1 is minus 1x. 3 by x is 3x. 3 by minus 1 is minus 3. So you get x squared minus 1x plus 3x is positive 2x minus 3. They ask for the coefficient of x. Who is touching x? That would be positive 2. Right? A few people from this scrolling through the answers. Well, not a few people, quite a few people got that one wrong. Number 26. 3x squared multiplied by 2x cubed. You multiply 3 by 2, you will get 6. X to the power, whenever the bases are the same and it's a multiply, what you do with the powers? You don't multiply the powers. Multiply means to add the powers. 2 plus 3 is 5. So the answer is B. A few people said they had all correct. Right. Let's move on. Oh, sorry. Some people just want a few seconds to take down the work. All right, let me see here. Well, it seems we could get, I can't get plenty to fit here, but we could get 27, 31, and 32. I think in this one, all they're literally asking you to do is replace m with -2. That is all they're asking you to do. So you're going to this equation, any m you see here, you replace it with -2, right? -2 to the power 3 is actually -8. -2 to the power, because this is really -2 multiplied by -2 multiplied by -2. That will give you -8. Two minus signs give you a positive. Three minus signs give you back a minus. And underneath, it looks like two minus signs would end up touching, right? So 2 plus 2 is 4. -8 divided by 4 is -2. Right? Number 31. They said that you have a certain number. We don't know this certain number, so we're just going to call it x. They said, if you take that value and -8, and then the result, the whole thing is multiplied by 3. You notice I sneak in my brackets there to show that afterwards, the whole thing is being multiplied by 3. They said the answer would be 21. They just want you to solve for x now. So let's just quickly do this. 3 by x is 3x. 3 by 8 is 24 is equal to 21. Let's solve for x. -24 plus, throw it across, you get positive 24. 21 plus 24 is 45. So 3x is equal to 45. 45 divided by 3 is 15. The answer would have been D. All right. Number 32. How many? Oh, this is just, I didn't know it or not know it. 1 ton is 1,000 kilograms. Right? Yeah. All right. So I just want to work out one question for you, right? Number 28 for everyone. Number 28 falls under a topic called binary operations. Okay. Now, I know I didn't teach let me spell it for you guys properly, so you all can find it on these classrooms. How much of you are able to find this topic in the math classrooms? Binary operations, right? To be honest, just go to the maths classroom and you just do the search function, right? And you'll get, I didn't get a chance to teach it, but I'm hoping to complete it, to get 2 things done this Monday coming before the exams, right? I think we have 1 more week before the actual exam, right? But it's a pretty easy topic, right? So let me show you how to do this question quickly. Let me zoom in here a little bit. All they did was give you a pattern. They say A asterisk B. Now they could use an asterisk, or they could use a diamond, or they could use a dot. A asterisk B, they tell you it's A divided by B minus 1. And then they ask you to find 7 asterisk 28. You notice the pattern here. A comes first and B comes second in their question. Now, A doesn't have to come first, but in their pattern, A comes before the B. So that means already trying to tell you, please pretend A is 7 and please pretend B is what? 28. And throw it into this equation. That's all they want you to do. So the equation they give you is A over B minus 1. They said pretend A is how much? 7. Pretend B is 28 minus 1. 7 over 28 is a quarter. A quarter minus 1 is minus 3/4. Because a 1 is larger than a quarter now. So if you take a quarter and minus 1, you will get minus 3/4. Right? The binary operations is not a difficult topic, and the questions don't really come too hard. But in case you're a little paranoid, You can look at the video, and next week, Monday coming, I just want to do a few extra topics that I didn't get to cover before the exam now, right? So already trying to say everyone, but obviously the Form 2s and Form 3s also, everyone try to make a special attempt to come both classes next week, okay? All right, guys, so it's close to 8:30 there, right? Thank you for coming out today. And remember, there's no 3-hour class tomorrow.